You know, Halloween used to be my favorite time of the year. Not Christmas, not Thanksgiving, Halloween. I still remember the smell of those Texas autumn evenings, the mix of pumpkin spice, hay, and that dusty scent that rides the wind right before the cold sets in. Back then, our little house on Maple Street was the place for every kid in the neighborhood. My husband, Jack, oh, he loved Halloween even more than the kids did. Every year, he'd carve these big, goofy pumpkins with crooked grins. He said, the scarier they look, the safer the house. I never understood that superstition, but I played along. I'd bake my pumpkin pies, line the porch with orange lights, and wait for the doorbell to ring all night long. And our son, David, he used to run around the yard wearing this old cowboy costume. Hat too big for his head, toy gun holster slipping off his belt, and a chocolate bar in each pocket, like he was saving Texas one candy at a time. He'd shout, "Mama, look, I got more candy than Tommy!" And I'd pretend to count each one, smiling like my whole world was standing right there in front of me. Those were golden years. Our home felt alive, warm, safe. Even the ghosts we pretended to see back then felt friendly. But life's funny that way. It doesn't stay golden forever. After Jack passed, the laughter in the house started to fade. At first, I thought it was just the grief, a season that would pass, like all others. But David, my sweet little cowboy, he started to change. He got busier. His visits became shorter, phone calls rarer, and the Halloween lights that used to sparkle in our yard stayed in their box year after year. Still, every October, I'd pull them out, dust off Jack's old pumpkin carving knife, light a candle. I'd tell myself, this year, David will come home with the kids. But deep down, I knew. Somewhere between growing up and growing cold, he'd left me behind. Soft pause. You know what's funny? When you grow old, people stop seeing you. They look through you, like you're a window to a past they'd rather forget. I was that window, and every Halloween, I could feel myself fading. Just like those flickering pumpkin lights that refused to die, even when no one came to see them. Until one year, he did come, but not to celebrate, not to carve pumpkins. No, he came to end Halloween. For me. It was October 25th, just a week before Halloween. The leaves outside had turned copper red, and the air had that sweet chill that always made me want to bake something. I was sitting on the porch that morning, rocking in my old wooden chair, when I saw David's car pull up. I smiled before he even got out. I thought, maybe this year, maybe he came to help me put up the lights. He stepped out, looking handsome as ever in his business suit. But there was something off. His smile didn't reach his eyes anymore. "Hey, Mom," he said, his voice too formal. He handed me a paper cup from Starbucks, a pumpkin spice latte. He never used to bring me coffee. That should have been my first clue. We sat there for a while, talking about the weather, the Cowboys game, the grandkids. You know, small talk that feels like empty air when something big is hiding behind it. Then he cleared his throat and said, "Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about something." Now, when your own child starts a sentence like that, your stomach knows before your heart does, and mine sank like a stone. He went on, gentle but firm, like he'd practiced this speech 100 times. He said, "Mom, you've been living alone since Dad passed. It's not safe anymore. You forget things. You almost burned the pie last week. I just worry." I wanted to laugh, or maybe cry. He made it sound like love, but love doesn't sound like a warning. I told him, "David, I've lived in this house for 40 years. I can take care of myself." He looked down at his coffee cup. wouldn't even meet my eyes. Then he said the words that cracked me open. "We found a nice place for you, Mom. It's peaceful, safe, and they'll take good care of you." They. Not he. They. I just stared at him. The same boy who once refused to sleep without my lullaby was now sending me away like an old piece of furniture that didn't match the new decor. I whispered, "David, you're putting me in a home?" He flinched. "Don't say it like that, Mom. It's not like that." But it was. Exactly like that. And the cruelest part? He came the very next day, with boxes. He packed up my life, my memories, my pumpkins, my Jack's old tools. And when he reached for the Halloween lights, I grabbed his wrist. "Leave those," I said quietly. He sighed and set them down, like it was some mercy. When we drove to the home, I kept my eyes closed most of the way, because I couldn't bear to see my own street fade into the distance. The building was gray and quiet, smelled like disinfectant and loneliness. A woman in scrubs greeted me with a smile too wide to be real. They gave me a small room, one window, one bed, and no porch swing. David hugged me before he left. It was the kind of hug you give to a stranger you feel sorry for. Then the door closed. And just like that, the world that once called me Mom forgot my name. That night, I sat by the window and watched the moon. It looked pale, like it too missed the warmth of a pumpkin glow. And I thought, maybe this is what dying feels like, but slower. Halloween came fast that year, faster than my heart was ready for. The home didn't celebrate it. No pumpkins, no candy, no laughter from kids in silly costumes. Just beige walls, the hum of a vending machine, and the faint smell of bleach that never quite went away. The staff called it just another Thursday. But to me, it was sacred. It was Jack's night. It was our night. That evening, I asked one of the nurses, a sweet young woman named Clara, if I could at least light a candle by my window. She smiled softly, said, "I'm sorry, Miss Mary. Rules, you know. No open flames. Rules." Funny how rules always seem to apply to the ones who've already lost everything. So I sat there, alone, staring out at the moon. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear faint laughter, children's voices echoing from the neighborhood beyond the gates. Their joy felt like a memory I could almost touch, but not quite hold. And then, something strange happened. The light in my room began to flicker, softly at first, like a heartbeat, then steadier, warmer, almost orange. I turned toward the window and froze. Down in the courtyard, I could see it. A single carved pumpkin, glowing in the dark. Its grin, crooked. Its eyes, familiar. It was Jack's pumpkin, the one he carved every year before he passed. The one that used to sit on our porch on Maple Street. I blinked hard, thinking maybe my mind was playing tricks again. But no, the glow pulsed brighter, then dimmed, like it was breathing. I whispered, "Jack?" The air in the room grew cold, so cold I could see my breath. And in that moment, I didn't feel alone anymore. I felt watched, but not in a bad way. It felt like someone was standing guard. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. Maybe Jack had found me. Maybe the spirit of Halloween, of home, refused to forget me, even if my son did. But peace is a fragile thing, and it never lasts long in stories like mine. Because the next morning, Clara came running into my room, pale as chalk. "Miss Mary," she said, trembling, "you need to see this." She handed me her phone. On the screen was a photo, taken by one of her friends who lived near Maple Street. It showed my old house, David's house now. The same porch I used to decorate every Halloween. But this year, something was different. The porch was lit up, covered in pumpkins. Dozens of them. Each one carved with a grin exactly like Jack's. And right in the middle, one pumpkin glowed brighter than the rest. It had my name carved into it. Mary. Voice softens, shaking. I didn't tell Clara what it meant. I just smiled and said, "It's beautiful." But deep down, I knew. That pumpkin wasn't decoration. It was a warning. Because some memories don't stay buried, especially the ones carved in love and betrayal. But peace is a fragile thing, and it never lasts long in stories like mine. Because the next morning, Clara came running into my room, pale as chalk. "Miss Mary," she said, trembling, "you need to see this." She handed me her phone. On the screen was a photo, taken by one of her friends who lived near Maple Street. It showed my old house, David's house now. The same porch I used to decorate every Halloween. But this year, something was different. The porch was lit up, covered in pumpkins. Dozens of them. Each one carved with a grin exactly like Jack's. And right in the middle, one pumpkin glowed brighter than the rest. It had my name carved into it. Mary. Softens, shaking. I didn't tell Clara what it meant. I just smiled and said, "It's beautiful." But deep down, I knew. That pumpkin wasn't decoration. It was a warning. Because some memories don't stay buried, especially the ones carved in love and betrayal. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo. My name glowing from that pumpkin on the porch I used to sweep every morning. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, that maybe David just wanted to honor me somehow. But my heart knew better. David never looked back, not once. That house, that Halloween, it wasn't his anymore. It belonged to the memories he buried alive. 3 days later, Clara came by again, phone in hand, looking uneasy. "Miss Mary, you should see this." Another photo, another pumpkin. But this time, it wasn't my name carved on it. It was David's, and right below it, the date, October 31st. The very next day, I felt something stir inside me, a mix of fear and something else, something darker, something that had waited too long to be heard. Halloween night came. I sat by my window again, watching the wind toss the trees like angry ghosts. In the distance, thunder rumbled, and then I felt it, a rush of warmth in my chest, like someone whispering through my bones, "It's time." Back on Maple Street, the neighbors later said the night felt strange. The wind died suddenly around midnight. Every pumpkin candle on that porch flickered out at once, all except one, the one with my name. Inside the house, David woke to the sound of knocking. 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, coming from the front door. He told his wife not to open it, but the knocking didn't stop. It grew louder, shaking the door on its hinges. When he finally gathered the courage to look through the peephole, there was no one there. Just a single candle burning on the porch steps. And on the wall beside the door, written in something red and wet, were 5 words. "Don't forget the forgotten ones." They called the police, of course, but no one could explain it. No cameras caught anything. No footprints in the mud. Only that candle, still burning, even in the rain. Back at the home, I was asleep by then. At least, that's what the nurses said. But they also said something else. They said my room smelled faintly of smoke and pumpkin that night, and the candle I wasn't allowed to light had somehow melted halfway down on its own. When I woke the next morning, I felt lighter, peaceful, like something had finally been set right. A week passed after that strange Halloween. The nurses said the phones in the home kept ringing that morning, families checking in on loved ones after the storm. When Clara answered mine, her face changed. She turned to me and whispered, "Miss Mary, it's your son." For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Part of me wanted to hang up, but another part, the mother part, couldn't. "Mom," David's voice cracked through the receiver, thin and hoarse. He sounded smaller. He said he'd had nightmares every night since Halloween. Said he kept hearing my old rocker creak on the porch, even though he'd sold it years ago. Said he'd wake up to the smell of pumpkin pie, my recipe, and find crumbs on the counter. "I don't know what's happening," he whispered. And I told him the truth, soft as I could. "Maybe it's not what's happening, son. Maybe it's what's haunting you." He came to see me that evening, for the first time in months. When he walked into that quiet room, he didn't look like a man with everything. He looked like the boy who once got scared of thunder and hid under my quilt. He dropped to his knees beside my chair. "Mom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you here." And right then, the anger I thought I carried melted into something gentler, like frost turning back into rain. I touched his face and said, "You can't undo forgetting." "David, but you can remember better." He promised to take me home, not back to Maple Street, it had already been sold, but to live with him and his family. I didn't know if it would last, but for the first time in years, I wanted to believe him. That night, before I left the home, I looked out the window one last time. Down in the courtyard, the same crooked pumpkin still glowed, though Halloween was long gone. Its light flickered, then steadied, as if nodding goodbye. I whispered, "Thank you, Jack." And I swear, just for a heartbeat, I heard his laugh roll through the wind. The same laugh that used to echo across our porch when we handed out candy together. They say karma comes to collect. Maybe that's true. But sometimes, karma just comes to remind. I never wanted revenge. All I ever wanted was to be remembered. So if you're listening to this, wherever you are, and you still have a mother, a father, someone who waits for your call, don't make them haunt you to be seen, because the dead aren't the only ones who can become ghosts. It's funny how life finds its way back to you once you stop chasing it. A year has passed since that night, the Halloween that changed everything. Now, I live in a small guest house behind David's place. It's not much. 1 bedroom, 1 window, and a porch swing David built himself. He said, "It's just like your old one, Mom." And when I sat in it the first time, I almost believed him. I see the kids, my grandbabies, every day now. They come running through the backyard after school, their laughter filling the air like wind chimes. Sometimes, when I bake pies, they fight over who gets the first slice. It feels like the world remembered me again. Still, every October, when the air turns crisp, something inside me stirs. The scent of pumpkin spice, the sound of dry leaves, they whisper like old friends. This Halloween, I decided to do something special. I told David, "Let's have a family night, just like we used to." He smiled, a little nervous, but he agreed. We carved pumpkins together. Me, David, his wife, and the kids. It had been decades since I held a carving knife like that. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from memory. Little Emma, my youngest grandchild, looked up and said, "Grandma, how do you make them smile so real?" I chuckled and told her, "Because when you carve with love, even the ghosts smile back." She giggled like it was just a joke. But David went quiet. Maybe he remembered the night those grins glowed without his touch. When we finished, I lined the pumpkins along the porch, just like I used to. The biggest one I set in the center. It had a crooked grin, Jack's grin. We turned off the lights, lit the candles, and watched the glow dance against the dark Texas sky. The air was cool, the stars bright, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel forgotten. Later that night, after everyone went to bed, I stayed on the porch a while. The pumpkins flickered gently in the wind, whispering secrets only I could hear. And I said quietly, "Jack, we did it, the lights are back." Just then, the wind picked up, soft, warm, and carrying the faintest smell of smoke and cinnamon. The flames in the pumpkins wavered, then steadied again. And for a moment, I saw it, his silhouette in the yard, leaning on the fence, smiling that same old smile. I didn't move, didn't speak, just let the tears fall, one by one, into my lap. Because love like that doesn't die. It just changes houses. This was my last Halloween. I can feel it in my bones, that quiet, gentle goodbye. But it's all right, because I got what I wanted. Not revenge, not ghosts. Just one more night with my family, and the porch lights glowing like they used to. So if you're listening, light a candle for someone you've forgotten. Tell them you remember, because the ones who built your memories, they never really leave. They just wait for the porch lights to come back on. Happy Halloween, y'all. And don't forget the ones who once carved pumpkins for you.